Before we start the video, large thank you to David for their support on Patreon. I hope you enjoy the video, my friend. And a massive thank you to Halo Burner, Ryan Belland, and a name I unfortunately cannot pronounce for their massive support to the channel this month on Patreon. It is sincerely and greatly appreciated, gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the video. Hello guys, today we're going to make an icon maker for our character profile snapshots. I didn't test the client-side prediction on multiplayer yet, but I did test it locally and it was working fine. So if you guys found any problems with that, let me know. But if we have any problems, we will find it when we make some polished videos in the future anyway, so that's fine. I'm going to start with making an empty game object, call it character profile icon maker. And I'm going to make this at 000, open the script, and basically delete the start and update functionality as is per tradition, and drop in my namespace. So what we're going to have to do here basically is we're going to need a render texture. So let's make a variable for that first. And I'm looking over some really rough notes here from Neff, so I might change this a little as we're doing it because I didn't actually go back and polish this after I got it working. Yeah, so this does need to be public. So private render texture, and then we're going to also require a camera. And the camera is going to use the render texture, and basically whatever that camera is looking at, we're going to put that image to the render texture, and then we're going to use that render texture to turn that into an image which can be used as a sprite. So we also need a reference to a dummy. I'm saying a dummy because it's going to work like our player. We're going to make it equip armor and stuff. But it's going to be a little bit different in the fact that it's only going to just equip armor and hairstyles and whatnot and not do anything else. So we're going to use some logic we have in our player. We're also going to need a string for the sprite icon name. Now, if I have any issues here, we'll test it and I'll iron it out. But I'm going to rip this straight from Neff and make a few little adjustments to make it neater because I wrote it for myself with the intention that no one else was going to see it, and it's quite ugly looking. So I will make adjustments here as I'm typing it out. The first thing we need to do is create all profile icons, and what we're going to do here is basically take a snapshot for each of the profiles we have. We have 10, I believe, because we did it like Elden Ring with a static amount of saves, so we'll just reference all of those. Now, before we create the profile icons, though, we need to equip the dummy with the respective gear, and to do that, we're going to check all of the save data. Now, we'll just make a pseudocode comment here. We're going to equip the dummy with the gear before each screenshot. So we take that gear data from our character save data, go through all the save profiles 1 through 10, equip it, snapshot, and then equip it, snapshot, repeat. So we need to get the save icon location, and we're going to make a private string for that called save location. And we're going to say it's going to be application.streamingAssetsPath plus I'm going to make a folder here called icons. And if you don't have it, that's okay. We can actually make the folder right now in the same function. So we can just auto-generate this. And we can do that by saying if the directory is what I'm looking for, here we go, does not exist. And then we're just going to basically create a new directory with that. So you'll actually see the folder pop up, I believe, in the project after you've done this and ran this functionality. So you'll know if it works. And then we're going to return the save location string here. All right, there we go. And now let's go ahead and come down here, and right below that, I'm going to make another function, private void, and we're going to call this create character snapshot. And this is where we're actually going to write the logic for, actually I'm going to call it character icon or profile icon. This is logic that actually takes in the data and then makes the actual picture. So we're going to have it require an icon name, an image for the character icon. So the image is like the thing in the loading screen that you see that we're going to link the sprite to, like the actual icon in your UI loading screen we pass this to. So you have 10 of those on your main menu. So we're going to call this 10 times. And then we need the actual save data. And apologies, guys, if I sound very tired, I've been back and forth to the vet like 10 times in the last 2 weeks with my dog, and I've not been sleeping too well, so I can hear it in my voice, and I probably don't sound as I normally do. I'm trying my best to sound a bit more awake here. So we're going to say using Unity engine.ui here to get a reference to the image, and then we're going to say if the string is null or empty, and the string we're going to pass is the sprite icon name up top there. Then we can say the sprite icon name is, whoops, not icon name, I've referenced the wrong one. So we're going to say if the sprite icon name is null or empty, then we can say the sprite icon name is equal to icon name. And then we're going to say string save path is equal to get icon save location. Okay, so we have our path, and then we're going to add the name of the icon to our path. like so, by saying plus equals sprite icon name. And then we can say the render texture, current render texture, is equal to, what we're going to do is create a new render texture, and we're going to reference our render texture up there, the width and the height, and also the depth. So we're basically creating a new render texture temporarily. We want to change the render texture format, or set it rather, to ARGB32, and we want to set the render texture read write to sRGB. Now I've only tried a couple of these. Some combinations don't work. So if you know a better setup here for the render texture format and read write format, let me know. But these are the two that I use, and I've had great success. So next we're going to say texture 2D. I'm just going to call this image PNG because we're going to make it into a PNG. Is equal to new texture 2D, and then we're going to pass the render texture's width, height, and then the texture format ARGB32, and we're going to say true. Then we're going to say current render texture, as in the render texture we just generated up there, dot anti-aliasing is equal to our render texture up top, like our variable, whatever anti-aliasing setting that is set to. And then we're going to say profile icon camera, so the camera we have, dot target texture is equal to the render texture we just generated just now. And then we're going to say profile icon camera dot render. Okay, then we're going to say render texture dot active is equal to current render texture. And then we're going to say image PNG dot read pixels new rect. And we're going to say 0, 0. And then we're going to pass the current render texture dot width and the current render texture dot height. So this is the part now we're actually going to momentarily save this as a PNG. Oh, and then comma 0, 0 as well. And then we're going to say image PNG dot apply. And then right below that, we're going to say render texture dot active is equal to current render texture. And then we're going to say byte array. So an array byte. I'm going to call this bytes PNG. Again, for the PNG file type. We're going to say is equal to image PNG, and then we're going to say encode to PNG. And I'm going to say system.io.file. Then we're going to say write all bytes, and we're going to pass the save path we've gotten up top. We're going to pass the name. We're going to add .png to the name, so we can say plus.png. And then we're going to pass the bytes PNG. So this is basically makes the render texture image into a PNG file, and it saves it to the folder we've specified. Now we need to get a sprite from that. So to do that, we're going to make a variable sprite called new sprite. We're going to say sprite.create. We're going to pass the image PNG. We're going to say new rect 0, 0 image width and image height. And I believe we just go over here now and say new vector 2, and we pass 0 and 0. And then right on the end there, we're just going to also put a comma and then pass 100 pixels per unit. Okay, now right below that, I am just going to, right below new sprite here, reference the character load slot icon and set the sprite to the sprite we just generated. So again, the character load slot icon is the thing that we have on the actual main menu, like the loading slots, the actual icon on that. So over here on the World Save Game Manager, you can see I got 10 save slots here. So what we're going to do is reference each of those now and then call upon this function. So I'm just realizing now we're equipping the dummy right here and then calling create character profile icon. So we can just probably call the equip dummy function inside that same function to save some space, which is what we're going to do, I think. So let's go back in here in the title screen manager and let's make an array. Now you could also obviously reference all these sprites, or rather images, separately, because you got 10 of them. You could say public image, and then you could say character slot or profile slot 01, and then 02, and then 03 image, and whatever, what have you. But I'm just going to put them all in an array and reference the array as a whole. So we'll just do that instead. And I know I have 10 because I know that I have a static amount of save profiles, so this is fine. Obviously, if you're doing something where you're giving the player unlimited profiles to generate, you're going to have to do this a little bit differently, but you'll just have to adjust a few things here and there, like how we create the save file name, etc., etc. But I'm going to call create profile icon. I'll say character slot 01 as the name, and then I'll pass title screen manager instance character profile icons 0. That will be the first entry in that, and then we'll pass character slot 01 from the world save game data. Now I'm going to put this equip dummy function call. I'm going to delete it from here and put it down here inside the create character profile icon, just so we're not having to repeat this because this is just called anyway. And we'll pass the character save data and we're good. Now all we do is I'm going to make a quick edit here and cut back, but you want to do this for each of your save slots like so, and then we're good to go. Okay, so now that we have that done, down here under equip dummy, we're going to just check here for the character save data, and if it's null, we're simply going to return. You can put a debug log there if you want, so it kind of throws you a warning. And we have to basically take all of these little save slot icons, and I'll make a quick cut and an edit here. I'll be right back. Make sure you drag them in here, and there we go. Nice, all done. Now we can go down to where we have our character profile icon, and we can drag in our player prefab, but we're not going to use it as a player. We're actually going to remove, or rather unpack, the prefab status, because we're going to only use this for the model, and we're going to add some of our own scripts to it. Make sure you get rid of literally everything on this, especially the character controller and rigid body. We want these things to float in the air. And we're going to add, what am I going to call this? I'm going to call this profile icon maker manager. And we're going to use this script to reference, think of like the player manager from the player, right? We're going to reference two components of the profile icon maker, the body and the equipment manager. And the reason why I'm not putting all this on one script, some of you may be thinking, because it's just a bit of logic, is because we're going to inherit logic from the player equipment manager. So let's go ahead and make the profile icon equipment manager. And we're going to inherit logic from the player's body manager, because we're just basically going to yoink those systems and equip this dummy the exact same way we equip our player. But beyond equipping and attaching different hairstyles and what have you, it's not going to behave like the player, obviously, just in that facet alone, so we can get our icons from that. So override awake and start on the equipment manager, make it derived from the player equipment manager, and delete everything in the start and update functionality. And unfortunately, as you see here, you're going to have to put in all your variables again if you have them like this. I made a function in Nef to auto generate them based on the transform names, which I might do in the next video if you want me to show you how to do that, so that we have to manually drag them in every time you make a change. There's also a few other ways to do it. You could copy the data from the component that was on the original prefab and then do some trickery with the inspector and basically drag it into this new script. But you can just drag it in manually too if you don't really care. Now let's go in here and make a header for body and equipment. And for body, I'm just going to say is male is equal to true by default. I should probably put that in the body manager. Maybe I'll do that when I go back to that, but for now it's there. Let's make a variable for the head equipment, the body equipment, and the legs and hands. And again, this is going to be identical to the player in how we equip it. It's just going to take the models from these equipment items and adjust the models of the dummy accordingly. And then we're going to use that after it's done, take a snapshot, and boom, there you go. It's pretty much how the process is going to be handled. So let's go ahead now and add the player, or rather the profile icon maker body manager. How am I doing on time here? Okay, pretty good. So let's go and open that up, delete our start and update functionality, and just quickly cut. And then we're going to make this derived from the player body manager, just like with the previous one. So let's go up here and say namespace -sg, as is per tradition. And then I'm going to say player body manager right here. So you're going to get a whole bunch of variables here again, because now we're inheriting this. And I think I can't override awake. Yeah, I can't, because it's a private function. So let's just go to the player body manager really quickly and make this a virtual void instead of just a private, because I don't want to try to get that player manager on awake. There's no need, it doesn't exist. So what we're going to do is override that and basically delete everything inside the awake, and we're going to do our own logic. Okay, let's save. This is one of those things I was really holding off on showcasing because I haven't touched it since I got it to work, and I feel like I could definitely optimize it a bit in terms of how neat my code is and how things are laid out, but that's fine. So let's go over here now into the camera, or rather create a camera, sorry, on your dummy, and just set the distance so it's like looking at his face or whatever you want. You know, it depends how you want your icon to look, and we'll make it so you can see a preview of this camera in a bit, but I've just got it roughly staring at his face. That's all. Now I'm going to delete the UI inside the old player prefab. I don't need that, and anything else in there that I don't really need. I'll change the name of this camera to icon camera, and I'm going to create a new area light, or point light, sorry. And then I'm just going to basically set this up so it's shining on the player in some capacity. So you get a bit of a, lightness to them when the icon is actually generated. And it is not lighting him up at all for some reason. Oh, it was very far away from his face. That's why. Okay. I'm going to parent it temporarily under the player here, or rather the icon maker, and now set it up, and there we go. Like, that's good. Just a subtle bit of glow on the face. I guess it depends on the mood you're going for as well, but let's create now a render texture by going to rendering, and then we'll do a render texture, and I'm just going to call this icon render texture. And you can see we've used one of these before with on our character creation menu, so it's going to be pretty similar. I'm going to make it, we're going to say the size is 600 by 600, and then we're going to make sure we have dynamic scaling ticked. That one's important. And other than that, I think we're good. Alright, so now you can drag that render texture in right now, like so, and drag your camera in. And if you want to see a preview of the render texture, go down to your camera, go to output, and just drag that in right there, like so. And now you can see it down here. Boom, there it is. So that's what your icon is going to look like, minus the blue background, obviously. Alright, I think that's a good place to call it, guys. So in the next episode, I'm going to make all the functionality to actually equip the dummy, and then we can assign the snapshots and make sure it is all working correctly. This is also a great place to go ahead and give it a whack yourself now. You got all of the tools in front of you, and you've got a very good place to kind of figure out where all these pieces connect together. Alright guys, as always, thank you so much for being here. I genuinely hope you have a very lovely weekend. Thank you to my patrons for keeping the series alive and allowing me to do this. You have my sincerest gratitude. I will see you guys in the next one.